So as a little extra bonusy content, I thought it'd be cool to take the survey. So would you consider having a relationship with an android that looks human? Oh, that's a tough one. Circumstances, I mean, obviously, I'm married, so would I consider one? I mean, if anything happened, I suppose I would say the answer yes, I don't know. That's an interesting
Do you think
one.
that technology could become a threat to mankind?
Yes, absolutely. Technology already kind of has.
If you had to live on a deserted island and could only bring one object, what would it be?
Okay, so let's talk about this, break this down. So, it's a deserted island, but is it the only one? Who knows? If it is, then I would say what we need to do is look for, something that's going to help us. So for example, on a deserted island, a cell phone is not going to be helpful. It's going to be a bit rubbish. Pen and paper, it depends how big the pen and paper is, so that we can maybe write a note, keep a log of what we found, maybe use the paper to light a fire, something like that. A console, depends what the console is, again, and an instrument. I mean, that'd be cool to learn to play, but if you need electricity, like an electric guitar, for example, it's not really going to work. So I would choose a book, and choose a massive book, and then use those pages to make a fire, and hopefully, if we're stranded on this deserted island, that's what I would go for. That's my
Do you
preference
consider
for
yourself dependent on technology?
Yes, we live in a world where everybody is dependent on technology. I am very dependent on my phone. I wasn't for a long time until I was in school. My first phone was a Nokia 3410, and you could customize all the backgrounds and things, and mine was a Welsh Dragon one. I love playing Snake on that, but ever since then, I've always been dependent on a phone. Technology-wise, my first console that me and my brother ever had was a Game Boy Black and White that we shared, and then it was a Game Boy Color, then that was my first. And I love computers and all that type of stuff and technology. So absolutely, I would say I'm dependent on it.
What technology do you most anticipate?
Well, androids already exist. So Japan's already making them. So that's a given. Flying cars, I don't see them being really viable. I mean, it'd be interesting to see, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon. It's just pointless. May as well just have mini planes or helicopters instead of flying cars. That makes way more sense. Space tourism, now that I can see happening in the future, but brain-connected devices, absolutely. We already have, for example, glasses like Google Glasses, things like that. But I reckon things like prosthetics, absolutely would be pivotal for that. So I'm gonna say brain-connected devices.
Do you believe in God?
I do believe in God.
Would you let an android take care of your children?
Yes, it would be great to have, you wouldn't need to pay a babysitter, for example. So if me and Larry wanted to go on a date, or if, I don't know, let's say, my child started choking on food. I know how to roughly dislodge it, but an android's going to be able to do it better than I could. So, let's do that. Or, if there was a burglar, I'd be like, hey, android, go deal with it, you know what I mean? Or protect my children, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So absolutely.
How much time per day would you say you spend on an electronic device?
Practically my whole life. I work in an office department. It's gonna be more than 4 hours.
If you needed emergency surgery, would you agree to be operated on by a machine?
If we're talking about the androids that you're using literally right now, absolutely. They would be able to make those decisions to make a perfect operation. However, if we've looked at the car survey, that was made choices on the car could kill people. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna say I don't know. That is a tough one. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't necessarily agree to it, but it's emergency surgery. So it means it has to happen now. I'm gonna say I don't know though. That's what my gut
Do you
is
think
going
one day
for.
machines could develop consciousness?
Yeah, already has. AI artwork, Snapchat AI, all that type of stuff, and things. So yeah, technically, I suppose it has. And it's going to continue to develop. Whether we get to Terminator levels, who can say? Who knows? So, alright. So, world's answers on the survey. Would you consider having a relationship? So, 64% said yes. 17 said no, and 19 said they don't know. Do you think that technology could become a threat to mankind? 74 said yes, 16 said no, and 10 said don't know. Yes it is. It already has. Literally. So, okay, so this is interesting. So, I said a book, 20% only went for a book, 22 went for pen and paper, 28 weirdly went for an instrument, and 5 went for a console. That's a bit odd choices, but there we go. Do you consider yourself dependent on technology? 87% said yes, 7 said no, and 6 said I don't know. You're literally playing this game right now. How are you not dependent on technology? Like, you know what I mean? You gotta be. It wasn't even, my generation, for example, grew up with technology. We've seen it advance. What technology do you most anticipate? So 35% said Androids, and 39%, which is the highest, is brain connected devices. Androids already exist. Flying cars, obviously, is going to be the least likely. Space tourism, I can see that happening. So, those answers make sense. Do you believe in God? Wow. 30% of people said yes. 52 said no. And 18% would be agnostic. That's crazy. That's literally insane right now. I believe agnostic is the correct term there. But yeah, no, that's wild percentages. Would you let an android take care of your children? So 49% said yes, 25 said no, and 26 said don't know. I mean, as long as the android wasn't hacked so that they could steal your stuff and everything, it would be fine in my opinion. It's interesting though how I said about the little robot and stuff. So would I really go for an android? You know what I mean? How much time per day would you say you spend on... who's the 1% that says they're an hour? No way are you an hour on an electronic device. No way. If you're playing this game, you're playing more than 1%. You are lying right now. 3% said 2 hours. How can you not know? Why would you say 4% of people don't know how much technology you're on? You just track it every day. My phone even says how much I've used in a week. It will go, oh, you've used it 32 minutes less. Which is crazy. 77% said more obviously. That's an obvious one. If you needed emergency surgery, would you be operated on by a machine? So 68% said yes. 15% no, and 17% said don't know. And I'm part of that don't know, because it's hard to say. If we're in the technology of Detroit Become Human, I would say yes. But if we're in the technology we're in now, I'm going to say no. And then, do you think one day machines can develop a consciousness? 72% said yes, 13 said no, and 15 said don't know. There's a lot of interesting films and all sorts, like Chappie, obviously Terminator. There's a new one. There's a horror one, isn't it? Lucy, is it? I can't remember. And then there's what else is there? There's loads of stuff. Toy soldiers, technically, or small soldiers, is technically developing consciousness. But yeah, I definitely think one day they will. But yeah, no, that was an interesting little survey that we did. So that's what I would do if you were curious about my little survey.